Thanks for joining us here on Arc Salt Lake. I'm Brian Schnee. It is Monday, December 5th. Tonight we're taking an in-depth look at the situation that's unfolding in Venezuela, also here in the United States. So in a New York City courtroom today, captured Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife pleaded not guilty to drug trafficking and gun charges. Neither are seeking bail as they wait in the U.S. detention right now, but more than 2,000 miles from Venezuela. National correspondent Natrel Nashar is more on what went on inside of the courtroom earlier today.
5 days ago, Nicolas Maduro sat atop Venezuela's oppressive regime as its president. Monday, he woke up an inmate in New York City. DEA agents seen here pulling Maduro and his wife Celia Flores handcuffed out of a helicopter, which took them from a detention center in Brooklyn to Manhattan. It's where they made their first court appearance Monday before 92-year-old federal judge Alvin Hellerstein. Facing narco-terrorism, drug trafficking, and gun charges, Maduro told the judge through a translator, "I'm innocent. I am not guilty. I am a decent man, the president of my country." Flores, facing 3 drug and gun charges, also pleading not guilty. Not guilty, completely innocent, she said. Former Attorney General William Barr helped form the original indictment against Maduro in 2020.
This was a criminal organization that used the instrumentalities, facilities of the state to make Venezuela a hub of drug trafficking.
There are many parallels being drawn to the case of former Panamanian President Manuel Noriega, who, at the orders of President George H.W. Bush, was captured by U.S. forces exactly 36 years to the day before Maduro, also on drug trafficking charges. Noriega's trial began 21 months later and lasted 7 months, ending in a conviction.
This is a long process people can strap in, but at the end of the day, there'll be a lot of legal maneuvering.
Already, Maduro's attorney, Barry Pollock, who also represented WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, making a similar argument that Noriega's legal team made decades ago. Pollock tells the judge that Maduro, as head of state, is entitled to immunity and says there are questions about the legality of his military abduction. The U.S. and more than 50 other countries do not recognize Maduro as Venezuela's legitimate leader. The judge affirms Maduro and Flores have the right to meet with a Venezuelan consulate and says Flores must get medical care because her rib may have been fractured during capture. Their next court appearance is scheduled for March 17th. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar.
So Venezuela's vice president is taking the reins of the country following the arrest of President Maduro. Delcy Rodriguez was formally sworn in as Venezuela's interim president today. She initially condemned the U.S. raid on Venezuela and demanded the Trump administration release Maduro, but she has since scaled back the rhetoric after President Trump, in an interview with The Atlantic over the weekend, threatened Rodriguez with a, quote, fate worse than Maduro if she does not comply with U.S. demands. So today, our Ariel Harrison spoke with defense attorney Sky Lazaro about Maduro's situation. Lazaro has experience working in international cases. This is what she told us.
When someone's prosecuted in another country, you're subject to their laws, their legal remedies, their rules or lack thereof of evidence that are, wholly different from ours. There's also an interplay there, with international law and how different countries can treat individuals from another country and things along those lines.
Is that half the battle, getting them back to U.S. soil once they've been involved in something in another country like this?
It is, I think, and it can go a number of ways. I think, in this Maduro Moros case, I would expect his defense counsel to potentially challenge whether or not the United States had the authority to arrest him in a foreign country and return him back here. There are international rules at play that allow you to get individuals back, but it usually involves the consent of both countries and a lot of work between both state departments. That didn't happen in the Maduro Moros case.
As Maduro's criminal case moves forward, a separate civil case against him here in Utah remains unresolved. So a couple was held in Venezuela for years. You may have heard this story. They've sued over wrongful detainment and torture, seeking hundreds of millions of dollars against Maduro. Ariel Harrison has the latest on their case and the hurdles it faces.
Video from 2018 shows Joshua and Tammy Holt safely back on U.S. soil after being held hostage in Venezuela for nearly 2 years. In February of 2024, Holt filed this lawsuit, suing Nicolas Maduro and top Venezuelan officials for the couple's wrongful detainment, seeking more than $648 million in damages. The lawsuit reads, Joshua and his wife Tammy were, quote, filled with hope of beginning a beautiful new life together, but just a couple of weeks after their wedding, quote, armed agents of Nicolas Maduro's illegitimate regime barged into their home, seized them, and locked them in a political prison notorious for its oppressive torture and deplorable conditions. Nearly 2 years later, their legal battle is still not over.
Does it surprise you that it's still not resolved?
Civil cases, all cases take time within our justice system.
Sky Lazaro isn't connected to this case, but has experience working international cases. Even though Holt's latest court filing shows a renewed default judgment, she says collecting on the $600+ million is a separate battle.
Really, it's going to come down to, can they attach his assets and collect against him on those?
As the Holtz case unfolds, the U.S. government is also trying to take any profits it says Maduro made from drugs.
If there are so many cases against one person, how do the courts decide which cases or filings take precedent or take priority?
If you have a number of civil cases filed against an individual, I don't know that a court's going to get involved in terms of who gets priority. I think it's really going to come down to, who can attach assets or money or bank accounts or properties in order to satisfy those judgments. It really is likely to become a race to the finish.
Now, Holt and one of his attorneys declined interviews today. Initially filed in Florida, the case was transferred to the Utah federal court here, with the judge now considering whether to grant that default judgment. Reporting from the federal courthouse, Ariel Harrison, KUTV 2 News.
So Americans have lots of questions about the U.S. strikes on Venezuela and the capture of its president. Our Jim Spiewak spoke with the University of Utah political science professor about possible regime changes and America's history with foreign involvement.
What are Americans to make of this? I mean, we maybe don't know a lot about Venezuela. We haven't maybe heard a ton about President Maduro before, recently. And now people are seeing headlines that he's in or going to be soon, facing criminal charges here in this country. And we're hearing things like it's about oil. What are Americans to make of this whole situation?
Well, I think it's important to know our history, but more so to also know what we have done and failed to do in terms of regime change. You might say that Vietnam was about regime change. So was Iraq. So was Afghanistan. These were failures. With Iraq and Afghanistan, we were also talking about oil, and that did not work out well. We have a history going back even with President Reagan back in 1983, the small island in the Caribbean, Grenada, that we overthrew the government there in order to have some control. 30 years ago in 1989, we invaded Panama and seized the general president who had been on the CIA payroll, General Noriega, brought him to the United States, had a trial, he was convicted, imprisoned, and then sent to Spain. That's the closest analogy I can give you right now with regard to what we've just done with regard to Maduro. Now, Maduro came to power in 2019. Before him was a fellow named Chavez, and Chavez was a bad guy as well. He came to power, I think, in 1999 to just about 12 years later. So there's state-sanctioned crime. Yes, there's drugs, but this really is focused upon the United States acquiring land, because again, where we're sitting right now was land that we acquired after the war. After the War of 1812, we declared war on Mexico. We acquired all the land to the west of the Pacific, and then in 1898 we acquired the land of Cuba and the Philippines and Puerto Rico. So it comes down to, yes, there's international law, but there's also the power. If we have the power and the desire, we can do it. And we have. America is the superpower in the world, has been since the end of World War II. And this, again, is about power and money. It's about oil.
Stay with 2 News on air and online for the latest on the regime changes in Venezuela. You can also get push alerts of updates by downloading our free 2 News mobile app. Still ahead here on ARC Salt Lake tonight, a new option for veterans with criminal histories in Utah and why leaders say it gives them a second chance. Today, the Utah State Courts launched a new Veterans Court in the 2nd District Court for veterans in Weber, Davis, and Morgan counties. So this means more veterans with convictions will have access to treatment and mentoring and support with judicial supervision. Those involved in today's announcement say really could be a game changer for those in Utah who have served our country.
The results speak for themselves. Veteran courts across Utah and across the nation have consistently shown lower rates of recidivism, improved mental health outcomes, success with addiction recovery, and stronger family and community reintegration. Graduates of veterans courts are significantly less likely to reoffend, are far more likely to find stable employment and housing. Here in Utah, many of our graduates have gone on to become mentors themselves, giving back to the very program that helped them heal. Each graduation ceremony can tell an incredible story. We could have a Marine who overcomes addictions after years of struggle, or a soldier who regains the ability to have visitation with his kids, or a veteran who finds purpose again through service and sobriety. To our legislators, county commissioners, mayors, and other officials here today, I tell you that this program works.
And so a veterans court gives us an opportunity as civilians, the 99% of us who do not serve currently in the military, it gives us a chance to say to each of them, there's room for you to start over. What you've done, the mistake you've made, or as the judge said, where you've stumbled does not define who you are and the character that you have. In fact, we're going to not look past it, we're not going to dismiss it, but we're going to dig beneath it. Rather than writing them completely off, we're going to invest in maybe where did we go wrong as a society? Where are some of the structures or systems not in place to help support the men and women who come home from war, who come home from battle, who come home from long and difficult days, fighting for the very freedom most of us take for granted?
You see, if we did what we're doing in this court for everyone when they got home, we wouldn't need this court. And what I'm hoping for is that we can continue to get upstream of where these problems happen so that we will be able to disband this court someday, because we don't have veterans that are going through this cycle of trauma and addiction or other issues that lead them here. And so my plea to everyone within the sound of my voice, to the people here in the state of Utah, is this: if you know a veteran, if you have a veteran in your family, a veteran in your community, that you will help all of us surround them with 3 things that they need to flourish. Please help me give them identity. Please help me to give them purpose.
All right, let's take a look at our forecast here. Boy, it has been interesting for our ski resorts over the last 24, 48 hours. So good that I want to get after it and go skiing. But let's check in with meteorologist Chase Thomason here as a look at our first alert forecast with some numbers.
Finally, the biggest snow of the season with our latest storm cycle. Big numbers too. Most of our resorts about 1 to 2 feet, but Alta recording 28 inches just in the last 24 hours, bringing their storm total to 32 inches. We've been waiting for something like this. Those snow levels did drop to about 6,000 feet, but we stayed rain here in the valleys. With all that fresh snow, though, our avalanche danger does get dangerous, and it's definitely high here in Salt Lake County. It is considerable to the north and to the east, especially for those snowmobilers. Be extra careful. Wait for that snow to settle a little bit lower. Those totals weren't as high down in Utah County. We still have a couple isolated mountain showers in northeastern Utah, really falling apart right now. 10 o'clock, we are quiet statewide. We'll call it mostly clear to partly cloudy across the entire state of Utah, but drier air is moving in for your Tuesday, and we'll have lots of sunshine out there, shaping up to be a pretty nice day. Temperatures for tonight cooling off into the mid-30s, but staying just above freezing along the Wasatch Front. Park City at 25, 23 in Heber, so where we got a little bit of snow, it will be chilly, some 20s through central Utah, and St. George at 38 degrees, climbing to 53 tomorrow. It'll be a mild day for January. These temperatures are about 10 degrees above average. We'll be in the upper 40s. May even get close to 50 degrees here in Salt Lake City. Logan, you're at 44. Park City and Evanston, those temperatures in the upper 30s. Still in the 40s through Wednesday, but we're tracking our next storm, and that moves in later in the weekend. It has the coldest air potentially of the season, with highs in the mid to low 30s here in Salt Lake City, and it could bring those snow levels down to the valley floor. So a first alert weather day we've issued for your Thursday morning commute: valley and mountain snow, and there could be a little bit of road slush. So that's why we want you to be prepared, as there could be some travel issues as you head out the door outdoor Thursday morning. Wednesday morning, though, let's walk you through the storm. We are dry. Thursday afternoon and evening, some light showers will be developing. Snow levels will start about 6,000 feet, but coming down to the valley floor by Wednesday night, Thursday morning as that cold front moves in. There's that snow for your Thursday morning commute. The one thing about the storm is that it's lacking a lot of moisture, so that's going to limit those totals. A few breaks, though, Thursday afternoon, unless you're in central and southern Utah. That's where we'll have a little bit of rain and snow. Maybe even some lake effect possible Thursday night, south and southeast of the Great Salt Lake, before things wrap up late Friday morning. Here's how much we could see. Not a ton, but valleys about 1 to 3 inches of snow, especially on those grassy and elevated surfaces. Benches a little bit more, 2 to 6. Wasatch back 3 to 8, and the mountains of northern and central Utah about 8 to 18 inches. Now in St. George, we're dry through Wednesday in the 50s, and then we have a little bit of rain on Thursday, and definitely colder. Friday, chilly, 44 degrees, overnight lows into the 20s as we head into the weekend, but the 50s return beginning on Sunday and into next week. Salt Lake 49 for tomorrow, 44 on Wednesday. There's your first alert weather day. We could see maybe some lingering snow showers into early Friday morning. High pressure builds in and we'll have valley inversions and they will strengthen. Temperatures this weekend and next week in the upper 30s and low 40s.
Coming up here on Arc Salt Lake with a bowl win already under his belt, Morgan Scally takes the reins from former Utah head coach Kyle Whittingham. The announcement coming tomorrow at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Well, this has been a big talker over the last month or so. Happening tomorrow, a new era of Utah football officially begins. Morgan Scalley going to be introduced as the new head coach. Scalley taking over head coaching duties from former coach Kyle Whittingham, who stepped down last month after 21 seasons with the Utes. He didn't retire. He did not retire. He took the head coaching job at Michigan, and he took lots of coaches with him. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, university leaders will introduce Scalley as the new head coach. That is at Rice-Eccles Stadium. We are planning to live stream the event. I hope you will watch it on KUTV.com. We've got a 20-minute special looking back at Coach Witt's historic career at the University of Utah. You can watch the end of an era, the Kyle Whittingham legacy, right now on our YouTube page. Finally tonight, new coins went into circulation today to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States. So according to the U.S. Mint, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent handpicked the designs, which represent various moments in U.S. history. The Mint also saying that it's considering a $1 coin with President Trump and his face on it. Congress authorized the special coins back in 2021 in anticipation for the anniversary. There are some of the mock-ups right there with our current president, and then looking back into some history. Thanks for watching on this fine Monday. We are back tomorrow at 7. We'll see you then. Take care. Be safe.